Part 7, Using a Braille Compass to Construct Intersecting Circles.
Okay, John, I would like you to make 2 intersecting circles using the compass that you have. And if you want to make the circles pretty medium size, so increase your compass a little bit.
John picks up the compass and adjusts it.
No, even that might be a little too small. Let's try this.
John will be working on a sheet of Braille paper.
Remember, you want to fit 2 of the circles on the piece of Braille paper that
And I'm going to try and go as close to the middle as I can here.
Under the Braille paper, there is a piece of cardboard.
I'll try it.
The compass has a small sprocket wheel that is used to emboss the Braille paper.
Let's see. Take it from here. There you go.
John continues to make the first circle using the Braille compass.
Oops.
The compass lifts from the paper, and John has to retrace that part of the circle.
Okay, should be good.
Okay.
Let's check it out.
The first circle is finished. John turns the Braille paper over to check his work.
Okay, now you want to make one that intersects with that so that you have sections that are adjoining.
All right, so I'm going to turn it over again. This is probably the biggest problem I have with the compass, is that the tracing wheel makes a design on the other side of the paper, and then when you try and make it smaller, you've got to try and find this little dot right here where the where the pointy edge of the compass is poked through the paper, and sometimes that's really hard to find. I think I have it though.
The point John is referring to is in the center of the circle.
No, you want to make them the same size circle, and you want to have them have intersecting parts. So you're not going to use the radius at all, the center point.
Okay. So I'm going to do this then, and put it right about here.
Okay, but you're going to make that circle right in the same circle. What we want to do is you want to have the circles separate.
John selects a center point for the second circle outside the first circle, but near the edge of the paper.
Okay, is your circle going to all fit on the paper?
Yes, it will. It'll fit, because I'm far enough over.
The second circle is not intersecting the first circle.
Pretty close.
The circle is too close to the edge, and the compass runs off the paper.
Go like right around here.
Okay, let's try doing another one.
All right.
Where it fit, and it didn't intersect at all with that circle either.
The teacher points where the 2 circles miss.
Here. Okay, so we might want to do one. Let's see. Yeah, this should fit all on the paper.
Okay, why don't you try have it go all the way around before you, and does it intersect at all? Wait, before you start tracing.
It does. It's going to intersect right through here.
Okay, before you start tracing, make sure that's going to fit all on the paper.
The camera shows that the 2 circles
do intersect.
do
because I went all the way
intersect.
around down here already. Down here. It's going to be a tight fit, but it will fit.
John demonstrates that the new second circle will fit on the paper.
Let's see here.
John begins drawing the second circle, and the camera shows a close-up as it intersects with the first circle. Halfway through the second circle, the sharp center of the compass becomes dislodged and moves about 1/8 of an inch. John is not aware of this. However, it happens after the circles intersect and will not affect his answer.
That should be good. Let's see.
John finishes the second circle and turns the paper over to check his
That's
work.
pretty close. The 2 circles intersect like right through here and here. So
They
there's
intersect very little. They have a very small spot that intersects.
Well, that's okay, because in geometry sometimes they intersect a whole side and sometimes it's just points.
Right. Okay, I'm going to have you do one more circle.
Okay.
And this time I want you to do it where it intersects to the center of the original circle that you drew.
The center.
So you want, here, turn your paper over.
John starts to turn the paper over, then returns to the back
Here's
side.
the first circle that you drew,
Mm-hmm.
right here. And here's the center. And I want you to draw a circle that the edge comes to the center.
Okay.
John picks up the compass.
Let's see how we're going to do this. I'm going to mess with the size a little bit.
John adjusts the compass to make the radius smaller.
Let's see. If I,
You probably want to make your compass a little bigger.
a little bigger, huh? Well, let's see. I'm just going to put it by the edge and see if I go all the way around. If I'll make... Well, let's see. If I put it right here, it's going over the center. I might want to make it just a tad bigger.
John increases the radius on the compass. John turns the paper to the front
Now how
side.
you're going to line up your compass.
Okay,
John searches for where to place the compass.
I'm going to put it like, because if I put it right here, then it's going to intersect the center of the circle, which is right about here.
Good. So you want to put the tracing wheel part on the center of the circle.
Right, yeah, right there.
John has a tracing wheel of the compass on the center of the circle he created in the first
without moving the
problem.
compass too much, and put it in.
John begins creating the new circle with the compass.
Let's see here.
John finishes the new circle.
Okay. Should be good. Let's see.
John turns the Braille paper over to check his work.
Yeah, pretty close. It does come through the center here of that other circle.
The camera shows that the new circle intersects the center
Now,
of the
you want to
first
make
circle.
sure that when you do this next time, that you
Mhm.
push down harder on the tracing wheel, because in sections you
It's a little less, it's a little faded.
an open circle. Okay, what are some advantages and disadvantages that you see to the compass
Well, one
for
advantage
you to do it?
for me doing it, well, one advantage is I get a better picture of what the geometry teacher is talking about when she says that circles can intersect at different points. One key disadvantage, however, is that every time you use a tracing wheel, it puts the design on the other side of the paper. And therefore, if I didn't have your assistance, I may not have been able to get those circles to intersect at all. Because when you flip the paper over, it becomes hard. You can kind of feel the design, you can feel the backside of it a little bit, but it's kind of hard to tell where it's going to intersect, especially when you have to take your compass and say, okay, if I put it here, put my tracing wheel here, then it's going to intersect the circle, right here. It's kind of hard to feel that without moving the compass all around and getting your, having your spatial awareness become all messed up as to where you are. So that's some of the advantages and disadvantages. One other disadvantage is, because the compass is kind of an odd shape, depending on where it is on the circle, sometimes it's going to be harder and easier to push down real hard on the tracing wheel. Because if it's over here, it's fine, but it's when it gets here and like here that this side wants to move around a little bit.
John indicates that it's
You did
easier
a
to
very
draw
nice
the top
job today
half than
with
the
making
bottom half of the
circles.
circle.
In the past, you've had some difficulties, like you were saying, where the center of the circle drifts.
That's because they've
And-
required it to be in a smaller area.
Right.
We were lucky. We could use a whole piece of paper and make a big circle, but for some of these problems, when you had 3 and 4 circles, it was necessary to shrink them. And then when you deal with smaller figures, it allows you less room for error, and therefore the errors appear greater.
The teacher takes the Braille paper and the compass and turns the paper to
Some
the
of the
back
advantages
side.
and disadvantages that I see to this is, one, when the students are doing it, they don't get as hard of a textual readout because there's so much for them to try to concentrate on doing. And also, I had mentioned before that a lot of times the circle, the center point that they're holding the center of the compass in, tends to increase as they're moving the compass around, as it does a lot of times with sighted people. But so then that makes the circle, the hole gets dragged out, so then the circle doesn't line up how it's supposed to line up. So then they're not getting the complete circle that they need to have. Also, the compass does not have a reading on it, so you can't tell the degrees of the circle as a sighted compass has. I did find this beneficial for when I had to make circles for his handouts and worksheets. This worked better for me than using a tracing wheel, where I would draw a circle in print first and then use a tracing wheel over it. I found that I got a better circle when I used this, but then I still had some of the same problems where the center of the circle ended up getting larger and the circles didn't line up. The other problem is that the type of surface that you have to do it on, when we used a rubber mat, it would eat through the rubber mat. You have to do it on some type of surface, because otherwise the tracing wheel that's on the compass will eat through the tables, make marks on tables. So the thing we found best is either using cardboard or using newspaper to make the circles.